Sir, I kindly request you to come up on stage. I also request Her Excellency Ina H. Krishnamurthy, Ambassador of Indonesia to India, Datuk Professor Muhammad Faiz Abdullah, Chairman ISIS, and U Than Chow, Chairman MISIS, to kindly join the stage.
A very good morning to you all, and welcome to day 2 of the ASEAN India Youth Summit. After the very fun evening we had last evening with the open mic session, I'm afraid today morning is going to be a little of a heavier session, but we will try to make it as light and optimistic as my good friend Ambassador Ina Krishnamurthy said we should do. And since you all are young people, optimism is definitely in the air. So I have the privilege of speaking first on this subject that we have before us, and the subject is India and ASEAN, poles in a multipolar world. I could not have had a more experienced and knowledgeable panel to speak on the subject to you. I have Her Excellency, Ambassador Ina Krishnamurthy, Ambassador of Indonesia to India. I have Datuk Professor Muhammad Faiz Abdullah, Chairman of the Institute of Strategic and International Studies of Myanmar, and also His Excellency U Than Chow, former Deputy Foreign Minister of Myanmar and also Chairman of the Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies. So, the subject is India and ASEAN, poles in a multipolar world. So what is a multipolar world? I know most of you do not know of a bipolar world. Most of you were not born when the Cold War ended. And let me tell you, it was not a very happy world. And in that world, India, along with Indonesia, were the torchbearers from this region in what we called then non-alignment. We did not wish to be aligned with any one of the two poles that were existent then. In many ways, non-alignment is a precursor to a multipolar world, and our objectives in staying non-aligned was to promote the idea of a cooperative world order which was not divided between two power blocks. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, we had a brief period of a unipolar world, and today we have signs of a return to a bipolar Cold War period, which we should guard against. India has always maintained our independence in foreign policy and to preserve our strategic autonomy. The growth of ASEAN too has been because the countries of ASEAN did not wish to have to take sides. For India, multipolarity is an article of faith. It is a democracy among nations. Why multipolarity? Because, number one, bipolarity is a zero-sum game. The gains of one are the losses of the other. Multipolarity is also a cooperative world, and the challenges of today's world are too big to be solved by one or the other power. Nationalism of great powers, whether economic or military, can take nations only so far, and in the end, everyone loses. Therefore, multilateralism and international cooperation are at the bedrock of multipolarity. For India, ASEAN is certainly a very important pole in this multipolar world. Your population of about 670 million is the third largest in the world after India and China. Your economy is also about the same size as India's. You are a fast-growing region. Your population is young, just like India, with tremendous potential for growth. And your location is very strategic, straddling the key ocean lines of trade and commerce. ASEAN also has unmatched convening power, by which I mean the East Asia Summit that ASEAN convenes, where all the poles of the world are brought together. You have summit relations with all other poles in the world, whether it is the United States, China, Russia, India, the European Union, Japan, etc. So no doubt, ASEAN is a very important pole in this multipolar world. And the importance that we give to ASEAN, you can gauge by the fact that in the past year alone, with almost every country of ASEAN, we have had the highest level of interactions, by which I mean visits, incoming and outgoing visits. With some of your countries, we have had more than one leadership level visits. Ambassador Krishnamurthy will vouch for the fact that these visits are not really just visits. They catapult the relationship to a far higher plane and bring about bilateral cooperation in many new areas every time such a high-level visit happens. So with almost every country except one, and I know I see Ambassador there, but we will have another visit with that country that will make all 10 of ASEAN countries, and also I have accompanied the President of India to Timor-Leste. So with all 11 countries present here, we have had the highest, or we are about to have the highest level of interactions. So both of us are also two poles of the global south, and that also brings together a lot of interests that we have in common, and the importance of our cooperation is paramount. So with these opening remarks to kind of set the context in which we are going to discuss, I will one by one hand over to my three panelists to make opening remarks. And then, of course, we would wish to have a very interactive session where I would welcome questions, comments that all of you might have. May I now call upon Her Excellency Ambassador Ina Krishnamurthy to give her remarks. You have the floor.
Ambassador Jaideep, distinguished panel, all protocol observed, proud participants of the 5th ASEAN-India Youth Summit, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning, selamat pagi. Let me start by thanking the government of state of Goa for their warm welcome and impeccable hospitality extended to myself and my delegation. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to the Ministry of External Affairs and the India Foundation for inviting me to speak at this important event. During my almost 4 years of posting in India, this is about my 4th or 5th time coming to Goa. I always feel exuberant every time, a place where many say fun, food, and music, and Goa has it all. And today, and definitely last night, Goa has it all, because all of you in this room, bringing with you the vibe, the energy, the conviction, truly infectious. Friends, if we look closely, particularly through social media, and I have my delegation who are very active in social media, so many young people are committed to improving their community and their country. Young people devoted to making our world a better place, a more inclusive, peaceful, sustainable, and fair place, much like those of you gathered here today. Young people building bridges across identities, communities, and generations. Young people who speak on behalf of those who cannot speak for themselves. Young people showing up, contributing their skills, expertise, ideas, and energy to solve the pressing challenges we are facing today so that future generations are better off. Young people, young experts need to be engaged in all the challenges that humanity faces today. We must not limit their contributions, for they have much to offer. We have witnessed how youth can mobilize global action. This has the potential to energize policy discussions, including the intergovernmental processes in the policy making. Unfortunately, young people are underrepresented in institutional political processes. This is the result of low rates of electoral activity, political participation, and parliamentary involvement. For instance, half of the world's population is under 30 years old, yet as little as 2.6% of national parliamentarians are under 30 years old. The participation of young people in the formal political process is crucial. Friends, let me now take you to ASEAN India. In this changing world, ASEAN and India are not just backbenchers. Ambassador Jadip already mentioned. We are the actual players in the global arena. We are regions of deep diversity, immense youth population, and home to ancient wisdom that still speaks to modern challenges. Last night we heard from Bhagavad Gita, a quote that is very deep in your culture. Nearly 65% of India's population is under the age of 35, while ASEAN itself is one of the world's youngest regions, with more than 213 million young people under the age of 35. ASEAN-India Comprehensive Strategic Partnership is therefore uniquely empowered by demographic vitality. And let us not forget that the agreed document of ASEAN-India Plan of Action 2125 specifically recognizes youth as a matter of cross-cutting priority. We all know that the current world is complex, uncertain, and multipolar, but it is also full of opportunity. And in this multipolar world, ASEAN and India are not just neighbors, we are natural partners. Together, we represent one of the most dynamic regions on the planet. Together, we hold the responsibility to turn our diversity into strength, and youth is the driving force of a better future. Indeed, we need the key elements as transpire in the theme of this forum. The first theme is connecting the youth. This is not a mere slogan. It is the crucial work of building trust, empathy, and collaboration across borders. And shaping the future is not an abstract hope. It is a call to action that begins with each one of you in this building. And as a diplomat of more than 30 years of experience in foreign service, believe me, connections are the roots of resilient diplomacy. So, connections matter. Friends, allow me to share with you my thoughts as someone who believes in the transformative power of young people. First, young people are natural innovators. I have in my delegation innovators. Growing up in a digital age, you are the generation that has witnessed the birth and evolution of social media, artificial intelligence, and renewable energy, as spoken by the speakers yesterday. You have the ability to harness the potential of these advancements and apply them to find creative solutions to global problems. Embrace your innovative mindset and use it to drive change. Second, young people are not burdened by preconceived notions or traditional structures and have a fresh, unbiased perspective. This gives you the freedom to be fearless, question the status quo, propose new ideas, and challenge conventional wisdom. Your unique perspective can foster unconventional thinking and pave the way for groundbreaking discoveries. And lastly, in a current uncertain and disruptive world, cooperation becomes essential, as mentioned by Ambassador Jaideep, because it allows us to collectively manage shared risks and leverage diverse strengths to overcome challenges, ultimately increasing resilience and fostering progress where individual efforts would be insufficient. With your energy and enthusiasm, you have the passion and drive to make a difference. You have the advantage of being globally connected beyond generation before you. You see the world not in silos, but in connections, not in division, but in unity, not in rigid alliances, but in open networks. And this can be elevated to build networks, forge partnership, and collaborate with diverse individuals and communities. By fostering mutual understanding, we should tackle global issues together and have a greater impact. Partnership between India and ASEAN was, is, and will be key pillar of the multipolar world, not because we are the loudest, not because we are the mightiest, but because we understand that the tapestry of dignity, diversity, and dialogue that we weave together becomes our strength. Friends, every generation serves as caretaker of this world. And sincerely, my generation or generations before me have been careless with that responsibility. But yours give me hope. In the face of all the crises that the world is experiencing, rivalries escalation, global economic fragmentation, and weakening international law, even the threat of open war that once considered unthinkable, the future of the world is at stake. We need action, we need justice. I believe you all will standing up, speaking out, and working for real change. We need you. Hope all of you have a great time in connecting, collaborating. Terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. Your words were really, I think, inspiring for all the young people here today. You spoke of the importance of diversity and tolerance that the countries of ASEAN represent, and that India represents unity in diversity, and how important it is for the world today, especially today, that diversity is celebrated and people cooperate in that spirit. Your call to arms for the young people to give fresh perspective on how we might take forward our relationship, the ASEAN-India relationship, is something that I would like you all to ponder. And then maybe when we come to the interactive session, then you could give us some ideas on that. Let me now turn to His Excellency Yu Tan Cho, Chairman of the Myanmar Institute of Strategic and International Studies, to give his perspectives on the subject. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning. Excellencies, distinguished guests, and the youth from across ASEAN and India. It is my great pleasure to join you today in this agreeable city of Goa under the inspiring theme, Connecting the Youth, Shaping Our Future. My heartfelt thanks go to the Indian Foundation, Government of India and the State of Goa, and the ASEAN Secretariat for making the movement possible. This gathering is more than an event. It is a bridge of ideas, of cultures, and of friendships, stretching from the shores of Southeast Asia to the heart of India, carrying with it the hopes and ambitions of nearly 2 billion people. That is the bridge on which our young people will walk the furthest and build the strongest foundations for generations to come. Distinguished participants, ASEAN-India journey began over 3 decades ago. In 1992, India became a sectorial dialogue partner of ASEAN. In 1996, the partnership grew into a full dialogue partner relationship. It was elevated to the strategic partnership in New Delhi in 2021. That history is important, but today, in 2025, our partnership is not just about the past. It is about what we do together now in a world facing profound uncertainty. Geopolitical tensions are reshaping alliances. Economic disruptions are shaking jobs and markets. Climate emergencies are threatening homes and livelihoods. In such a world, ASEAN and India must not only trade goods, we must also exchange ideas, talent, and trust. Our young people are the key to achieving that. Distinguished participants, Myanmar occupies a unique position in this partnership. We are the only ASEAN member state that shares a land border with India, over 1,600 kilometers with joint access to the Bay of Bengal. This marks Myanmar a natural bridge for trade, connectivity, and culture exchange. Projects such as the Indian-Myanmar-Thailand Trilateral Highway and the Caledon Multimodal Transport Project are not just about roads and ports. They are about connecting people, ideas, and futures. If ASEAN-India cooperation is a bridge, Myanmar is one of its central pillars. This partnership is built not only on shared interests, but on solidarity in times of crisis. When Mandalay earthquake struck on 28 March this year, India was among the first to respond, sending an 80-member National Disaster Response Force team, 2 naval ships, and 40 tons of essential relief supplies. Field hospitals set up by Indian military personnel brought life-saving care where it was most needed. These generous actions under Operation Brahma prove once again that India is a true friend of Myanmar. We are deeply grateful for this timely and compassionate support. Distinguished participants, solidarity in times of crisis is important, but so is preparing for the future we will share. That future rests in the hands of our young people. As I noted earlier, ASEAN and India together have nearly 2 billion people, and a significant proportion is under the age of 35. This is not just a demographic figure, it is a demographic powerhouse. Across our towns and villages, universities and startups, farms and laboratories, young minds are brimming with ideas that can address challenges we have faced for generations. But potential alone is not enough. It must be connected, nurtured, and empowered. We must also be honest about the world our youth are inheriting. A climate in crisis, from rising seas to extreme weather. Job disruption driven by automation and shifting economies. Misinformation eroding trust in institutions. Inequality with too many opportunities still out of reach. Overarching all of these is uncertainty. Uncertainty is not only a challenge, it can also be an opportunity for those prepared to meet and overcome it. These challenges may seem daunting, but together we have already begun laying a groundwork for solutions. Distinguished participants, ASEAN has already placed youth at the heart of its vision through the ASEAN Work Plan on Youth 2021-2025, with initiatives ranging from student exchanges to entrepreneurship networks. India has also opened its doors through scholarships, innovation hubs, and culture programs. However, we can and must dream bigger. The next phase should not only be about programs for youth, but also about partnerships with youth. Myanmar also considers its youth as partners in national progress and regional cooperation. Since adopting our national youth policy in 2017, we have focused on 16 key sectors linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. Our initiatives include leadership workshops, entrepreneurship programs, digital skills training, and environmental conservation projects. We also place strong emphasis on inclusivity with programs of persons with disabilities to ensure that no one is left behind. At the ASEAN level, Myanmar has actively contributed to youth cooperation, chairing the 14th ASEAN Ministerial Meeting on Youth. Myanmar also chaired the ASEAN Senior Officials Meeting on Youth for the 2025 to 2026 term before handing over to the Philippines. We continue to engage in ASEAN in international platforms and give youth a voice in shaping policy and fostering innovation. But policies and programs alone are not enough. It is the youth who will bring them to life. Distinguished guests, youths from ASEAN and India, to the young people here today, you are not just the leaders of tomorrow. You are already leaders today. The choices you make, the friendships you form, and the skills you developed will shape the ASEAN-India partnership for decades to come. I believe that the following proposals will unlock the potential within you. 1, promote peace and dialogue. Be ambassadors of peace by practicing constructive dialogue, even on sensitive issues. As future leaders, your ability to bridge divides will be essential to regional stability. Number 2, be innovative and inclusive. Work together across borders to find creative solutions, protect our environment, and ensure that all voices, regardless of background, gender, or ability, are included. Number 3, strengthen cross-culture understanding. Learn about each other's histories, traditions, and values. Culture intelligence is as important as technical skills in building lasting partnerships. Build cross-border friendship. Seek out peers from other ASEAN countries and India. Friendships forged now can become the strongest foundation for future cooperation. Number 5, stay curious and keep learning. Make use of training programs, scholarships, and exchange opportunities to adapt continuously to a changing world. Number 6, the last one, act regional, think global. While working in your communities, look for solutions that can be adapted and scaled up across ASEAN and India. The future of ASEAN-India lies not just in government agreements. It lies your classrooms, your startups, your community initiatives, and the connections you build today. Distinguished participants, we often speak of ASEAN-India as one of the pillars of the multipolar world. Pillars, though, are only as strong as their foundations. In the case, the foundation is the energy, vision, and courage of our youth. Let us not only connect our young people, let us trust them, equip them, and learn from them. If we do this, we will not just respond to uncertainty, we will shape the future together. The future is not something we have to wait for. The future is something we can build together now. Thank you very much.
You also mentioned about Myanmar being land neighbor with India. It is just hundreds of Myanmar, Malaysia, Thailand, and Indonesia. But having said that, I think we still have a long way to go to get our peoples to really know each other better. And despite the great civilizational connections we have had throughout history, I think young people from both sides, from India as well as from ASEAN countries, should make the effort to know a little bit more about each other. I will now turn to Datuk Professor Muhammad Faiz Abdullah, Chairman of the Institute of Strategic and International Studies of Malaysia, IB Strategic and International Studies Institute of Malaysia. You have the floor.
I arrived here last evening, and we were very hungry. So we were told to go straight to the dining hall, the VIP dining hall. So as I stepped in, I saw there was hardly anybody there. Then I heard a lot of vibes coming in from somewhere, and I asked my secretary, what's going on there? Very strong bassal beats, strong music coming in. He said, Prof, things are happening there, not here, not there. So I came in here, and I really felt the vibes. And this is the vibes that is once in a lifetime. This is your youth that's giving the vibes. So don't ever lose those vibes. And this, don't ever lose those vibes. So on that note, I address. So you better hang on to that first. Excellencies, my esteemed fellow members of the ASEAN-India Youth Summit, Organizing Committee, I see some dear friends in front. Thank you very much for the hospitality. A very good morning, namaskar, and please forgive me if I'm trying to get this right in Konkani, Dio Boro Dis Dio. I'm told that it means that, may the good day be with you. So it is indeed an honor, a double privilege for me to address this meeting. I wanted to say vibrant, but the vibes this morning is still not there yet. Let's see whether it will grow later. Yes. But I want to say, it's both daunting and challenging to address a gathering of youth. Why do I say that? Daunting because youth equates robust inquisitiveness. Youth equates great expectations. And exciting, challenging because youth promises vigor. It promises revitalization, and that is a key word that we have to bear in mind all the time as we go along. Therefore, I'm truly grateful to be given this opportunity. Today, we address a topic of grave concern, of grave urgency at the same time, and that is the changing international system of the world. For years now, we have been writing, quote unquote, the term called the interregnum. You might want to study this further, what we mean by that, interregnum, for ISIS Malaysia and the Asia-Pacific Roundtable and also the Indo-Pacific Caucus. We use this term now to show a spatial in-between, where there's a whole lot more to be done. But this interregnum this time is characterized distinctly by something very unusual. It is called unmatched uncertainties, unlikely partnerships, and even more precarious rivalries. And this poses a different kind of challenge. And that is the struggle for state actors to shape a consistent role and permanent geopolitical place in the evolving international order. You might want to ask us later, what do we mean by an evolving order? We're not talking about the semantic, legal, or the general meaning. We're talking about the substantive meaning of this evolving order. This is influenced by several factors. I may be wrong, we can discuss that later. But I think there are three key words here: agency, autonomy, and action. Discussions on the agency of an actor that have been going on for quite some time, especially in recent years. Geopolitical survival, that is very important, in the midst of all these acute uncertainties. Made worse by, I don't have to mention it, we just went through the past 4 or 5 years, the so-called pandemic, the COVID-19. Major power rivalry, economic and supply chain pressures, and uneven public goods delivery, and of course, that elephant everywhere, which is climate change. But this must not come at the cost of agency. Agency sustains relevance and ensures that actors are not pushed into a corner. This is where I want to equate agency with youth. I don't want to equate agency with experience, because experience tends to dull our senses. It tends to let us sit and think that business as usual is the way forward. Agency is youth, and youth will equate action later. Exercising agency from a Southeast Asian perspective, and that includes all of us here, in very distinct ways would therefore include very purposeful participation in that was the word mentioned, multipolarity, in multilateralism, and also in minilateralism. Conscious enhancement of existing and new partnerships. You should be living examples. As you gather here at this stage, you are supposed to be forging new partnerships among yourselves. We, on the other hand, try to look back and see how much we have lost when we see you in action for that. Now, it is from the agency that autonomy is born. And this is particularly true for Southeast Asia, the states, ASEAN, as a regional organization. The concept of ASEAN centrality comes in. I just want to mention quickly, people seem to think that ASEAN centrality means everybody must agree, and it becomes a mantra. ASEAN centrality, if one country does this, everybody must follow, or if not all countries do it, then it's not considered to be proper. No. ASEAN centrality means being able to appreciate and realize what is generally good for the people of ASEAN, taking into consideration the different differences across the regions, language, religion, culture, and so on. That's centrality. Understanding way forward how it is good for everybody, but not having to be uniform in everything. Now, there was this question about the issue of what is known as the emerging Indo-Pacific. Those of us who have been in track 2 particularly have always been having this problem. Why is there this Indo-Pacific thing going on? We already have Asia-Pacific. What is the difference? Is it going to be slanting towards the West? Is it going to be a situation which is being led by India, Japan? Now this is really backing up the wrong tree. To our mind, we didn't jump to it. ASEAN was asked, do not react to that. Do not go crazy about Indo-Pacific. Reject it. That is not the philosophy. The philosophy is that instead of being hysterical, what we did is we launched what is called the ASEAN Outlook on the Indo-Pacific in 2019. I agree it has not been doing as much as it should, but it certainly has a lot of potential. And I think the potential is this: it is dynamic, it is creative, it is workable. It needs the injection of youth to really get it going. Like I said, the experienced people thinking that once you form this, it's going to go. It won't go until we get that vibrancy involved. Now, with agency and autonomy, action is measured and becomes meaningful. Otherwise, we will be going haywire, not knowing where to stop. How do we check ourselves? And here I would like to highlight the continued relevance and sustainability of ASEAN-led mechanisms. Don't forget, we are dealing with ASEAN India. I will come to India, ASEAN specifically, shortly. Now, what happens is that I'm aware there are criticisms involving for some of the ASEAN outfits. For example, the ASEAN Defense Ministers meeting, the ADMM, the ADMM Plus. Yeah, warts and all. But we do not cast aside things just because there are some deficiencies, there are some what we call infelicities. We try to make the most of what is the core involved. Let us examine some basic questions here. Are these systems, I will come to India later, and ASEAN, in relation to some of the outfits, for example, I think it was mentioned the East Asia Summit, credentials of that. What are the questions that we need to ask? Do they endure? They do. But we need to keep on having that stamina to let it go. Will there be scope for improvement? 110% scope for improvement. We cannot rest on our laurels and think it's perfect. But it's not dead. Is there political will? That is the final question. And I believe with ASEAN centrality, like I mentioned, the will, if it is not 100%, it is nearly there, full. What is needed is resolve and the perseverance and the conviction. We call it the conviction to do things, the courage of that conviction, and a tenacity of purpose. And I think this, I cannot agree with you more. I was there before as youth. During your time, tenacity of purpose, when we resolve to do something, whatever our parents say, sorry, I'm deciding I'm going there. That is what is needed for the ASEAN youth to move it forward. Now, I'll come to the final issue, which is the perspective of ASEAN in relation to what is known as the relationship. ASEAN and India. ASEAN and India are undoubtedly important poles in the emerging world order. This is seldom seen. This is something I myself personally am putting forward via the different Track 2 channels and sometimes 1.5 as well. I write in the op-eds. It is, first of all, a relationship, and this is very important, a relationship of equals. This is what we call the concept of interdependence. No one sector or partner says, I'm greater, therefore you need to rely on me. The other sector does not think that I'm weak, therefore I need your help. No. I need your help because it will be good for you. You help me, and it is also good for you, the other side. That is known as a relationship of equals. Its preeminence lies in the unique ability to shape action. How is this so? Firstly, ASEAN and India are, please bear in mind, key enablers and drivers. They're not just entities. They are enablers and drivers of what? Of interregionalism. And with that, we set the example for the rest of the world. It is a concept that in fact will shape the very Indo-Pacific that I mentioned earlier, and for the years to come. Whether it is through, as I have some specifics here, you may be familiar, ASEAN BIMSTEC engagement, or the ASEAN IORA cooperation, ASEAN India ties. These fuel collaborations that tackle real-world issues and sustain the delivery of public goods, which directly impact on the peoples of ASEAN and India. Number two, ASEAN-India relations will play a significant role in shaping narratives around the acceptance of new minilateralism and re-emergent multilateralism. The point is this. For example, we have the preeminence of BRICS Plus. Just to share with you personally, Malaysia was among the first to want to be partner and eventually to join after the rest had been settled, against a general view which says that we shouldn't do that, and particularly against the view of the West and of Europe, which says, what's happening? Why are you pivoting from the West, from the US, towards BRICS, towards China, towards India, towards Russia, towards South Africa? And what is our answer? Our answer is that we have had enough of colonialism. We want to now have our choice to see what is best in terms of our economic diversification. And that is what it is. Finally, and this to my mind is in fact the most significant, the ASEAN-India partnership will drive global South. This is my firm belief. This is the firm belief of my Prime Minister of Malaysia, Anwar Ibrahim, because they believe that the mobilization will not only be inclusive, it will be solution-oriented, including being effective in addressing a unique set of challenges. What are some of the examples? International Solar Alliance, the Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, and the International BICAP Alliance, and many more, if you can think of. Now, moving forward, Carpe Diem, please remember this term, must be the driving force to push policymakers in ASEAN and India to exploit these golden opportunities. I see them as emanating not only from the individual dispositions of the actors, but also the strategic synergy between ASEAN and India. There must be greater appetite, youth always has appetite, yeah? And action, energy for that, to be the mere pillars. And ASEAN must quite be simply with India form the very bridge to more connected multipolar world. In closing, on that note, I use the phrase carpe diem. Seize the day. Seize the moment. Capture that. Like I said earlier, if the youth can't do that, nobody else can do that. And I remember when we talk about that song, love more than liking is the great thing to go forward. I remember a song from the movie Romeo and Juliet. Perhaps not your time, but you go back, perhaps Netflix might have it. It begins something like this. Yep. What is a youth? Impetuous fire. What is a maid? Eyes and desire, and the world wax on. A rose will bloom, it then will fade. So does a youth, and even does the fairest maid. So don't forget, seize the day, seize the moment, so that you continue to revitalize yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor. If nothing, you have really revitalized us today morning, and with your call for agency, autonomy, and action. And I'm sure, like a good professor, you have instilled these ideas in the young people before us and made them sit up and take notice. You have mentioned the Indo-Pacific. Now you have mentioned colonialism. I would submit that, the Indo-Pacific has always been a region where trade, commerce, people, ideas have gone back and forth, whether from the Arab world or from India or from Southeast Asia. And it is only during the colonial period that these linkages were disrupted. And today what we aim to do is to revitalize those old links that existed, whether it is through trade, ideas, cooperation, and exchange. So thank you very much to all three panelists, each with their own very distinct perspectives that they gave us. Unfortunately, I know that we have kind of run out of time, but it would be criminal of me not to give you the floor. So I beg the indulgence of the organizers to give us at least maybe 10 or 15 minutes for an interaction. The floor is open. You can introduce yourselves, and then you can say to whom you wish to address that question. I have a number of, first I saw the gentleman, young man on the table. Here, don't look back, I'm referring to you, yeah. Microphone for him, please.
First of all, thank you so much for your wonderful insights and elaborations. My name is Peng Tien. I'm a research associate from Asian Vision Institute from Cambodia. Since you talk about the changing world order, especially in multilateralism, I want to touch upon that. The questions on geopolitical implications from Prime Minister Modi visits to China for the first time in 7 years after he concluded his visit to Japan as well. So I want to see that the questions on visits to China for the first time in 7 see how his visits, how does China, is this a way to at least complement the order itself? Thank you so much.
This question. All right, I will answer it. Okay, Professor Faiz would like to share the answer. So, as you know, India and China, the two biggest countries in the world, are neighbors with a very long land border. Some of it is not defined, and therefore we have a legacy issue on the border. But we have in the past been working towards resolving those issues. There have been instances in the recent past which unfortunately resulted in the lack of trust, which we are now trying to resolve. I always say that for two of the largest countries in the world living side by side in the most economically dynamic region of the world, and not to even have direct flights between the two countries is something that is not tenable. These are things that both governments are working on. There is a process. There have been high-level consultations. So the meetings between the leaders only happen once there is a basic understanding between the two on how to proceed. So this is the route that we are taking. You know, even at the times of our biggest disagreements with China, we have always maintained that our view of the Indo-Pacific is one of an open and inclusive region. We have always emphasized the word inclusive. It is not to exclude anybody. So just like ASEAN, we also feel that everybody in the region should be a party to all cooperative decisions in the region and for prosperity and development of the region. I hope that answers your question, but I will also defer to Professor Faiz.
Thank you very much. No, I'm not just being a nosy Parker trying to, wade into this, because I believe Malaysia has very much skin in the game here. Just about sometime last year, there was an official visit to India, where Prime Minister Anwar met with Prime Minister Modi. It was a very good meeting. I was physically, personally there as well. I witnessed the camaraderie. I saw the chemistry, which cannot be, it's not something that you can put an act on. Yeah, apart from the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister singing a very famous song from Sangam, yeah, it was also actual substantive talks about how important a strategic partnership. At the same time, Malaysia has also forged a very strong relationship with China. So how these two countries relate and interact with each other will definitely have implications for Malaysia as well as ASEAN as a whole. Now, it's a brilliant question that you raise, but it requires something like $1 trillion answer. You know why? Because vis-a-vis America, and particularly I'm talking about Trump here, the elephant in the room, and specifically the Liberation Day tariffs, it's havoc not just to India, it's havoc to the rest of the world, even to Europe, to ASEAN, and to China. Some countries can do what we call tit for tat retaliation. ASEAN cannot do that. India is in a very strategic position. I'm not an advisor to India, but I would dare say that India should really put its foot down when it comes to this. It's a huge market. It's got staying power, years, thousands of years of civilization. Surely a 4-year, 5-year term of a presidency or even a double presidency cannot undo the economic foundations of India. So India combined with China is insurmountable in terms of challenging the rest of the world. Not that we want to see that sort of clash, but if clash is there to be, I would see greater benefits in the synchronization and symbiotic relationship between India and China against Europe and the West. We are not talking about a clash here. We are talking about strategizing for economic do. So my gut feeling is that it will be a good meeting. If India is meeting with President Xi Jinping, by the way, Malaysia is also going for the SCO, and there will also be a bilateral with Li Qiang, not with Xi Jinping, a courtesy call. So my short answer, very good development. By all means, the people of India, even ASEAN should support that move. Thank you.
Thank you for those words, Professor. And I can vouch for what you said because I was in the room when your Prime Minister and my Prime Minister had their very historic meeting. And I can also vouch for the fact that certain members of the Prime Minister's office are able to sing Bollywood songs very well. There was another gentleman on, yes, there you are.
So,
On the same, or just behind the first gentleman, if you can give him a microphone, please. Yes.
Thank you so much for taking your time and answering our questions. So I'll just go ahead and proceed. My name is Martin. I'm from the Philippines. So my question is, in the South China Sea, or should I say the West Philippine Sea, there's an overlapping of territorial claims that includes Malaysia, Vietnam, and Brunei. It often attracts involvement from other larger powers, i.e. USA and Trump, which can heighten tensions for smaller states like us. So what can ASEAN and India do to work together to promote a multipolar framework that upholds international law, independent foreign policy that safeguards our sovereignty and the interests of small nations in our region?
Let me turn to Ambassador Ina Krishnamurthy. Would you like to answer that question?
first and foremost, coming from a country who is not party of the conflict and the dispute. And also, I'm not an expert on the issue. What ASEAN India can do is what the professor has mentioned about AOIP and IPOI, and how ASEAN India can support the solution of such a sensitive and also prolonged a discussion is to make sure that both sides, ASEAN and India, focus on the peace and progress in the region. That's the first. Second, when the tension arises, we need to ensure that both parties, ASEAN and India, also not being a party of what the professor passionately say, that anything that to build on the cooperation, collaboration, and dialogue peacefully is very important in managing anything sensitive, because we have to agree that each country national interest and also national issues domestically is key and priority. So the third thing, what we can do is to make sure that the IPOI, if you're not familiar with that, the Indo-Pacific, Indian Ocean outlook on Indo-Pacific by ASEAN and also by India is synergized when it comes to maintaining the peace and prosperity in the region. Again, I believe that dialogue in diplomacy is very important, and when we focus on peaceful dialogue, hopefully that the solution will be there.
Thank you very much.
Sir, may I already have mic for like a couple of minutes?
I am afraid, unfortunately, I'll have to close this session, but you will have more opportunities to speak, because there is a very eminent panel after this where there will be several ambassadors from ASEAN countries. There will also be Ambassador Preeti Saran, who will be chairing this. She has been my predecessor as Secretary East, looking after this entire region. She has served as an ambassador in this region. So I will unfortunately have to close this session because we have run out of time, but you will all have opportunities in the next panel to discuss some of the things that you wish to. Thank you very much. I thank my panel. Please give them a big hand.
I extend my sincere gratitude to the chair and the distinguished panelists for their insightful session. I now request the chair, Shri Jaideep Mazumdar, to kindly felicitate the panel. I now request Admiral Shekhar Sinha, Chairman Board of Trustees, India Foundation, to kindly come up on stage and felicitate Jaideep sir. Trustees, India Foundation, to kindly come.
इधर से
Minister, Government of India. May I request the chair for the session, Ambassador Saran, to kindly carry forward the proceedings.
Namaskar. Good morning. I'm delighted to be present here today at this session of the fifth chapter of the India-ASEAN Youth Summit. I was very closely associated with the Youth Summit, the first one, when it was held in Bhopal, and thereafter I know that India Foundation has